Hello, everybody, and welcome to another SIG Windows meetup. This is the 14th of April, and as always, it's a recorded meeting, so please adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct. I want to actually start by telling you guys one very quick thing. YouTube Creators Editor has changed how it works. So a lot of our community meetings for the last 3 weeks, even though I have them recorded and I have them uploaded on YouTube, I cannot link them to our playlist that we have. The Kubernetes team is trying to fix that because it impacted pretty much every SIG. So the way it works is that the playlist is owned by Kubernetes, and then I was added as an editor. But with the new with the new freaking editor studio, you cannot link to a playlist that you don't have ownership of. And
For SIG Azure, I can't remember what it was. I should have written it down because I found some weird workaround and I was able to add them, but it was a real pain in the derriere.
well, the workaround that I used to have before is you told them that there's a missing feature, and they give you a link to go back to the old Creator Studio, and you're able to add them. But that link no longer exists. I actually got an email saying you've been using that; it's no longer available. So I don't know what's going to happen. Apparently, there's some automation that the Kubernetes contributors experience people are working on, and it's going to fix this thing. But when that's going to be available, I don't know. If any of you want to see a recorded meeting that we had from before, please ping me in private. I still upload them on YouTube. They're just on my channel. Okay. So I'll add it here in the notes as well. All right, let's go to the next discussion topic, switching all test images to Nano Server.
Yeah, I added this one. So it looks like Cloud is pretty close to having all, or has all of the test images working with, oh, there's my virtual background too, as Nano Server images. And I think that there'd be a lot of benefit to moving all of the images over to Nano Server in terms of speed and just being able to run on smaller nodes with smaller disks. I wanted to just make sure everybody had a chance to voice any concerns, if there were any, before that switchover happens for all of the test images.
So
I believe this has also been brought up on Slack, on the SIG Windows channel in Slack too, and there wasn't any concerns there.
Hey, can you hear me? Is my mic working?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you, Peter.
Okay. I had one question. So I recall, and I was just trying to pull up the doc link. I couldn't find it right away, but it used to be documented that Nano Server containers would only run on the semi-annual channel versions of Windows, and they wouldn't run on, say, Windows Server 2019. Is that still accurate?
So I think that they would run on Windows Server 2019, but I believe that they were going to have the same support cadence, or like support lifecycle, as the SAC images, so the 18-month support cycle. We are working with teams inside of Windows to make sure that gets extended for Windows Server 2019. That is a concern that we had too, and I believe that right now we're thinking we wanted to try this for a little bit while the images are still supported, to see how much it can improve everything, like how much faster the test passes are, and come back with some numbers for that. All of the work that's been done to make the test images be able to run on Nano Server would accrue to, they'll still run fine on Windows, the server core containers. So if we need to switch it back, we could. Craig or Muzz, can you comment anything about the support for the Nano Server on Windows Server 2019? Or any updates?
No, I think you got it right. Yeah, we're definitely looking into extending the Nano Server image for now to get through the hurdles, and we're looking at how we can, how in the long term how we can support Nano Server. So those discussions are ongoing right now.
So I have a question. I'm assuming we do have some images that are not nanoserver, right? As part of having comprehensive test coverage, I'm assuming that we have nanoserver for like, let's say 90, 95%. There's going to be some things that are going to have Windows Server Core or even full Windows because we may have some apps that are testing specific things. Do we have that in our test matrix, or we can switch 100% to nanoserver?
So the pause image is nanoserver too. So we have some coverage of nanoserver. I think Claudio can comment, but I think we're ready to switch 100% to nanoserver.
Yeah, the switch is 100% to Nano server. Before, again, it was the pause image, as Mark said. And there were a couple of tests which were using specifically Nano server, like the tests which were using resource consumer image, since that was a Nano server. Another one which was pulling from public or private registry, which was also on GCR, which is a Nano server image.
Well, let me try to rephrase that. I think I messed up a little bit the question. As we're adding support for containerd, right, and we're moving away from Docker Shim, one of the important things of actually certifying and validating that Windows containers work well on Kubernetes is that we test all flavors of Windows containers that could run on Kubernetes. So that means testing Windows Server Core, Nano Server, full Windows. So as part of our test matrix, we should have test cases that instantiate containers of all three SKUs or all three editions that Microsoft has, and run test cases across them, because that's going to be the minimum bar of saying that, hey, as a customer, feel free to run any Windows container here, right? So maybe we do that as part of the test cases for containerd, because that's where we're making the first major change on the container runtime.
I see. And I think that, yeah, that's a very good point, Michael. I think we could add some tests with either this, like a slow label for testing the larger images. And if we can have all of the images that are targeted via the non-slow labels, that could still probably give a lot of benefit to the test passes that run only parallel tests.
Hey, Michael, just a note, the screen you're sharing is knative mink something, not the notes. Just so you know.
You guys can see the notes I'm typing?
No.
You guys could have told me that earlier. I'm like,
You have spinach in your teeth.
oh man, now I'm in trouble. Now I'm gonna have to actually delete this this freaking now for sure this is not getting uploaded on YouTube. Can you guys see the notes I'm typing now then?
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I don't know how Zoom messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Happens to all of us.
Yeah. Well, disregard anything you saw. If anybody took a screenshot, I know where you live.
Yep.
Just kidding. All right, cool. So I added the note here, Mark, on the test with the slow label.
Okay. Yeah. I think that, yeah, that's good. And I think that could help alleviate the concerns.
All right, so let's move to the next discussion topic, which is support for non-Windows Server 2019.
Yeah, I wanted to see how much interest there was for moving and like what it would take to say that other versions of Windows, like SAC releases of Windows, were supported for Kubernetes. I was wondering if anybody had any kind of interest in pursuing this, and also seeing if we could start a little bit of get a little bit of a definition of what it means to support these different operating systems.
Yeah, so right now we support Server 19, 2019, and 1903, right? That's the two ones that we support today. I think that the barrier for before, when Patrick and I were talking about it in a variety of meetings, was all around, effort and time and resources, right? So, given that Windows is backwards compatible and both the features and the functionality moving forward is always improving, I think it makes sense for us to support them. But I would probably say this is my personal opinion only. Supporting like 3 OSs at all times should be more than enough. Like we can support the latest LTS release, so server 2019, and then maybe 2 of the SAC releases. I think that potentially, if we have unlimited bandwidth and time, obviously we can support more. But I think that those 2 SAC releases should be more than enough, and then the LTS. But what do other people think?
I think part of it's a question of what is the investment to say that it's supported from the community perspective. What kind of testing, what kind of resources are all of us putting on fixing issues related to the SACs? I think is the fundamental question.
I think it just boils down to, can we run test passes on these things on some frequent cadence so we can catch regressions, right? That's really what it boils down to.
Run test passes and fix them when they fail, yes.
Yeah.
And then also provide some sort of a guarantee that will release kind of infra and test images targeting all of those operating systems.
Yeah. So Valentina, is it, oh, sorry, not Valentina, Adelina, is there some guidance that you can give us in terms of, what will be the cost to add one more OS, right? Both from an infrastructure and time, and you don't have to answer now, but maybe you can bubble it up for next week again.
Yeah, well, so we already have 1903, 1809, 1903, and we have 1909 as well in tests. I can go ahead and figure out exactly what it means in terms of VMs and VM time more specifically, on the kind of tests we're running.
Yeah, I think those two are the two different data we want, right? How much resources will you need, and then how much more time will you add to test passes?
Yeah, and I know right now in Azure, just in terms of resources, we're asked to use the bare minimum to support all of the different kind of COVID-related infrastructure that's running on them. So we might need to hold off before we can start scaling up on testing until after that's all resolved.
Yeah, I mean, another way to look at it is, on like we run a test pass every day, right, Adelina?
Not really. The 1903 and 1909 ones are much rarer than that. We scale them down. I think it's 72 hours right now. I don't necessarily remember exactly, but something like that, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, essentially we could do something like that, so if we have, let's say, 3 or 4 releases that we support, every day we just run a different one. I mean, I don't see a reason why this wouldn't work. Like every day you run a test, you just change what you're testing.
Yep, and that's on Azure. I think that I've seen other test passes for at least 1909 on GCE as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll chime in. I think the ideal case is that every new, to me, what seems ideal is that every new Kubernetes release every quarter, we test it on 2019, the long-term image, and the latest SAC image. So there's sort of a one-to-one correspondence between Kubernetes versions and SAC releases. I understand that the timing and that's a lot of consistent, regular updates to the test runs that we do. But if we can achieve that, it feels sort of straightforward in a way.
Well, Peter, can I ask you this? How often after an SAC release comes out does Google Cloud adopt it?
So we make it available for VMs on our cloud pretty much right away. As for getting into our GCE Kubernetes test jobs, that's sort of the work that I or a couple other people here would do. And yeah, it's a little bit of work, but it's doable.
Yeah. I mean, for public cloud providers, I think that's easier. I think for enterprises, it takes quite a while, even though you have the semi-annual channel that you release, and the support is only for a few months. Still, folks don't update right away. I mean, there's a significant effort for an enterprise to update their OSs. So I think that we can really support the latest, because I'll give an example. Kubernetes 1.19 is going to ship in June timeframe, right? And let's say that you have the semi-annual channel release that's going to come out very soon. Windows Server version 2003. So when that comes out, with only a 1-2 month gap, it might not be enough time to basically tell people we only support that and Windows Server 2019. So I guess long running ways, definitely support the latest, and maybe you can support the one before that too. So 1 or 2 latest, like what Mark wrote there. And if the effort in terms of resources and time is basically adjusted such that if we run a test pass every day, and every day we test a different OS SKU as part of that test pass, but the same test cases execute, that's good enough for us, right? Because in a 3-day gap or in a 4-day gap, we've tested everything. That's comprehensive.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so it sounds like there's kind of an agreement. Are the next steps here, should we put together an issue and kind of define what we want to say, like define this and let other people review this?
Yep, I think so. And then that's where Adelina can just come back and give us the estimates, right, time and resources.
Yeah, and then eventually turn that into an update on the webpage, I think, once we
kind of I was about to say that I think one of the important things coming out of it would be if we can clearly document something about, I think from LTST point of view, it's very clear that the 2019 is the only one we support. But from SAC perspective, like what exactly we support and where are the gaps or what are the known bugs, if something like that could be published, because I think we get a lot of questions around that, right?
Yeah, because I think even the webpage right now only says that 2019 is supported.
So no, we added 18. Actually, yeah, it's only 1809.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think I can put together an issue and.
Yeah. Oh, while we're on the documentation, Michael and Mark, it's been quite a while since this document has been updated, and I think the Windows Associate docs are updated. Is there any effort or something to keep them a little bit more up to date?
So this specific one was updated a little bit. We added some stuff around kubeadm, and then the majority of the kubeadm work went under the kubeadm. Actually, let me see. If you search for kubeadm Windows, it should take you here.
I think it was a subpage of that as well.
Yeah. So this is this page. So this one was completely revamped for 118, but not the other ones. So,
and also there was a little bit of an update for the Containerd alpha support, but I agree. I think a large portion of that page probably needs to get overhauled.
Yeah, if someone has resources and can take a look, I mean, a lot of the things are still true, right? Some of the functionality, this is the Containerd stuff that the Mark updated. A lot of the functionality, I know that when we get CSI, we're probably going to come and update more of this work that Deep had added earlier. If someone has resources and then can take a look at and kind of flag a couple of areas that you can update, you can surgically go and do that.
Okay.
Would it be worth seeing if this page should be broken up too? I think this page is a little bit unwieldy at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it might be worthwhile to break it down. I think like storage, networking, and compute could have their own sections. And me and Craig kind of wrote this all 3 pages back at the beginning because we didn't have a doc writer and we had to get something out. So we put everything into 3 pages and we called it general support, the node support, and then scheduling containers. So, but yeah, I mean, if someone has a bandwidth that can take a look, who can.
So Michael, can we just do a PR against this page and like, is that how it works? Like,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
create a PR of it, CC us, figure out what, and once you actually submit your first PR, Netlify will do a build and give you a demo, a staging version of your site that you can take a look at, and we can review that, right? So we can see what the changes are.
Yeah, if it's easy, like, because there are 1 or 2 sections, there is like graceful shutdown. I don't know if it's been updated yet or not, but that was causing a lot of confusion because it was saying it is not supported, and it's like, yeah.
For that one, if you search for the second hit on the page, there's a link to how to do the workaround by setting the registry keys. But
yeah, I've had like a number of users reaching out to me, and they're saying like, it says it's not implemented, but it works in a certain way, and like, you know, so they're confused. So anyway, so if like something like that, if we can quickly update, I'll create a PR for that one.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest part of this page was the API, right? That was really where we had, when folks want to try to use X, Y, or Z on Windows, what's there and what's not there. And I have a feeling that once Containerd support comes in, the gap between what's available for Linux versus Windows should shrink. Mark, is that pretty much accurate?
Yeah, it should. There's a number of things that are that we think we can support with Containerd, that graceful termination period, single file mounts, which was, I think, another big one where there was a couple of issues. And let me pull up. I've been trying to keep another board in the Kubernetes org that Patrick set up to date. I can drop that link in the chat too in a minute. And I think that had a lot of work items for, where is this? Sorry. I have too many tabs open. Yeah, so there's the project board. And there was a couple of issues that were called out as saying, yeah, I think the 2 big ones were single file mount and what that unblocks, and that will unlock supporting pod termination messages, and also support a lot of kind of networking scenarios that are broken because we can't map the etc host file into the containers, and termination grace period.
Very cool, thank you. All right, so we have about 3 minutes. Anybody wants to bring something else?
Yeah, folks. I'm leading the effort for getting Windows workloads enabled in OpenShift on at Red Hat, and what we're trying to do is also contribute to upstream. So Sebastian on my team has been fixing unit tests and things like that in the last week or so. So if there's any more like low-hanging fruit that people can start work on, who are kind of fresh to this whole new Windows world, it'll be helpful if you either tag me when you post it on Cube. I'm keeping an eye out on the Slack channels. But if you find something that's some low-hanging fruit that someone new can pick up, please let me know, and I'll try and see if I can get someone on my team to work on it.
Okay, and I just dropped another board that has been kind of roughly maintained that has a bunch of Windows-specific issues in a backlog column. That might be a good place to start. I don't know how kind of well groomed it is, though.
Okay, I can take a look at that. Yeah, I see the link.
Correct. And I think in the backlog, Mark, there are a lot of good first entry tab, whatever it is called, the label, good first or something like that.
Yeah, good first issue or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there are actually already, there are a lot in the backlogs which say good first issue, and it probably may be a good one to get started. I don't know if it's all up to date, but there are a few here and there.
That's fine. We'll figure it out then. At least I know somewhere to go and start looking.
And obviously, by the way, since we were on the topic of docs earlier, as you guys are either ramping up your knowledge on Windows and Kubernetes, and you see something that doesn't align, usually a new member to the team is the best ones to actually tell us that, hey, I've read this, but this is not what is in reality. Are great kind of testers of the docs and helping us kind of update them, or at least flag the areas that need update.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great.
Cool.
I also have one thing, if time allowed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So recently I'm looking into like a build Windows container image on like a Linux machine. So I tried Bazel. It's a lot. I think it's mostly working, and I just got to know Docker also have a build X called build X. Actually, it's also allow you to build Windows container image on a Linux node. From their official document, it mentioned BuildX is for like multi-platform. It lists like Linux, ARM, Linux, AMD, but it doesn't mention Windows. And I'm just wondering if anyone ever used this BuildX before.
Yeah, I don't think BuildX.
Yeah, I don't think BuildX
can also take into account.
the OS version.
So how we build images, we basically build an image for every single
OS version.
Like 1809, 1903,
1809, 1903, 1909.
Okay, so you mean BuildX cannot or can support?
I do not know that
I do not know that it can.
I tried one. It's working fine.
For one
like,
OS version.
For one OS version.
LTSC 2019.
Yeah, but we need
to build for all
the OS versions.
All the OS versions.
At least that's what we need right now.
At least that's what we need right now.
So I mean, we can talk offline. Like I just want to know, more information about it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. And I think the work that Cloud has been doing with the image promoter has all been using dedicated Windows hosts. So that we can get the multi Windows images that contain all of the images for all of the different SAC releases.
So you mean that's the plan, or?
I think we're still figuring out a plan. But the image promoter work is using dedicated Windows hosts.
Oh, okay. So I mean, we can also talk offline, like to get more information about this, and I want to see whether I can use this in our build process.
Yeah, let's start a thread.
Start a thread offline
and do that. All right.
It's
time, guys.
It's time, guys.
Everybody have a great day. Stay safe.
Have a great day. Stay safe.
See you all next week.
See you all next week.